So we go to the prepackaged cylinder. Repackaged cylinder assembly, we have two components: the end stator or rotor or static in its design, single cylinder. The second one contains the following: connecting rod, crank, complete piston, and pin cylinder. So all joints implemented are now correctly contained in this assembly. Making replicas of the cylinder assembly carry the joints with them. Piston and pin with joints are also carried the same way. So to ground the cylinder, you ground each cylinder, then rotate each crank as calculated in the previous slides, following the firing order. Join each crank after rotation to its neighbor with a rigid joint. That is after you have done the rotation, then the cranks don't now move with respect to each other. They are one solid body. We are then in a position to test the kinematics with animation. So you look at the drawing yourself, and then you can try and I can see there are 6 comments. I will attend to that. I will attend to those now. Let's see what the comment. Okay, we can see it. Yes, sir. Okay, so everybody say you can see. So to practice this, I want you to go. There are some things you can do. You can practice this by making the. You remember that when we made the connecting rod, we made it in 2 pieces with something joining them together so that you can remove them for service. That is something you can add. You can change the firing order and do your calculation for a different firing order. You can change the number of cylinders. Maybe instead of an 8-cylinder vehicle, you do a 6-cylinder vehicle or a 16-cylinder vehicle as you choose. So it's up to you. So you can test your skills on them. Or you can try and do a V engine, which I showed you a V engine. This on the same cylinder, from this same single cylinder, you can make a V engine. And several other things you can actually do. So somebody is asking a question on API. I'm not taking any questions on API today. I think we might go back to the API from next week. So I want us to concentrate on the lecture for today. So Olanide Ali, if you have a question on API, you can send your question through the website. No, but this is very clear to everybody. Is there any other question? Because last week people were asking me about the general joints when the thing is not in place. I've answered. I hope I've answered that now. Jump to the first unread message. Everything is clear. Well, if I'm waiting for 30 seconds, if there are any new questions, then we will talk. If there are no questions, then it will be until next week. Practice this. Does it mean we won't submit the API assignment next week? Who said, why can't you submit your API assignment next week? If you don't ask me a question now, that means that you are free to. Okay, since you are threatening me, Olarinde Ali, ask your API question. What's your question? Since there are no other questions for today's lecture, what's your question? Go ahead, ask the question. Olarinde Ali, ask your question on API. I will answer them now. Well, you don't. If you cannot use string, then you can draw your drawings accurately. You don't need to use string. So if you are not using a GUI, you don't need to use string. You can draw your lines to end where they're supposed to end. You can draw your line, put the coordinates and say line from 0.001 to 0.011, and it will take the line exactly where you want it to go. So you don't need to use string. I don't remember ever using string in the API. So the assignments, are we to draw in the GUI and using API or only using API? Do whatever you can. Do whatever is convenient for you. I expect you to do your sketches in the API, and but your assembly might be done. Use a combination of both. I just want I want you to try your hands on whatever you can. Do your best. Force yourself, work together, read up on some of these things. Go to the API help and get as much help as you can get. Let us see what you come up with by the time you are submitting. So don't come with nothing. Just do what you can do and submit. Adedamola, I hope you are hearing me. Okay, so you can use a combination of both. I just want you to explore and not, I just don't want a situation where you are just copying what I have done. In the way I know you understand me is when you do things that I have not taught you. When you know where to find information, you go look for information, do things. My experience is that my students surprise me. Students do things that even me, I don't know. So that I have not tried before. Because when you have a class of 50 students, those are 50 brains. There is no way one brain can be more powerful than 50 brains. In fact, these are 50 younger brains. So I give you one step, you take three. That's my experience with my students. So I expect no less from you. So I want to see what you can do. I want to see what you can try. And then when I look at your work, make some corrections, and then we have a final homework before the exam. So, and if you take the assignment seriously, the assignments will take more marks than the final exam. This is a practical course, and they will let us do that. So the normal idea that your final exam will be 60%, there's nothing stopping your assignment from being 60% and the final exam being 30%. Nothing. There's no reason why it can't be so in this kind of course, because most of the things you do are not the things that you do under the duress or the pressure of exam, but what you do when you have a lot of time to really experiment and go get help. So, any other question? So if you have a difficulty with a complicated object, then collect these things with a container and use lines and splines to join them. And without any trimming, you can join them. And especially when you are looking at the piston, you don't need to trim anything. You can just calculate the locations and use lines and curves to join them without needing to trim anything. Join them exactly, and you'll be okay. All right then. Thanks for your attention, class. So see you next week. Bye-bye.